honestly, it more than looking at it morally, it boils down to policy. And I feel that Harrison is less isolationist than Trump, which I'm kind of a pro isolationism guy, and we have a lot of issues going on within America. And Harris, sorry, is very she's focused more on NATO and supplying other nations, right, and spending more money on the nation while giving more money away and cutting tax, which can lead to things like inflation, decrease in supply and demand, putting a halt to certain forms of domestic production. I think that Harris she proposed that the $25,000 first time home buyer credit, the expanded child tax credits, the crackdowns on the price gouging, the higher capital gains, which I think will, I mean, the wealth inequality is high, but I think more spending can increase inflation, right? Higher business taxes will discourage American investment. Too much regulation can hurt our economy, and the government. I mean, if you look at those propositions, the government can become very involved in our own domestic markets, which will lead to socialist forms of government, right? I mean, it's just the truth.
Can you define socialism?
Hello?
Yeah, can you define socialism?
I can't hear you. I don't know if that's like a me issue.
I keep doing this. It's because you have feedback. Can you define socialism?
Well, I mean, socialism is a less, well, it would be a almost purely government regulated market, correct? Yes.
No.
It is.
Socialism is not when the government controls everything. Necessarily, socialism is when the workers control the means of production. Now, you might say like forms of socialism would include like state ownership of the means of production on behalf of the workers. Now that's state socialism. That's not all forms of socialism. So there is socialism is just the workers control the means of production. Now, if you want to reference like liberal policies of broadening social safety nets, that's not socialism. I'm not advocating for socialism. I'm a progressive liberal. I believe in capitalism with social safety nets and regulations. I think that we need broader access to healthcare, childcare, housing affordability, and basic necessities for everyone within this country, right? And we can still have a capitalist framework outside of that context.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know if you were.
Oh, okay. I can also address the other points. There's plenty of others. You said inflation. Donald Trump actually caused more inflation since he got in office because of his war with Iran, because of his tariff policy. The Federal Reserve report came out and said that we'd actually be below pre-pandemic levels of inflation if Donald Trump never imposed the tariffs in the very first place. And also, we haven't seen real domestic manufacturing investment come back. Real domestic manufacturing investment has declined every single quarter of Trump's administration so far, after massive growth under the Biden-Harris administration. So it seems like the Biden-Harris administration actively led to more investment within this country, comparative to the Trump administration's policies, right? Along with the fact that in terms of NATO, Trump still is upholding NATO. It's like not like that's changed. It's not like Kamala Harris advocated to put more money into NATO or anything. Like, we only fund around 16% of the overall NATO budget. What people are comparing is the defense budgets. And yeah, we shouldn't have a $1.5 trillion defense budget per year. That's insane. That's what Trump is advocating for. So based upon actually that standard, Trump is putting more into it. He's also claiming he's going to war with Iran because he wants to prevent stuff happening to Europe. So that sounds like he's like doing things specifically in terms of foreign policy to prevent things from happening to other countries around the world. Plus, like this war with Iran, again, hasn't met any of our objectives, yet has caused inflation to go up.
I think there's a difference in preventing the actions of an active threat rather than sending money to other nations that have a some sort of unknown spending, right? I mean, like a lot of the time there's a lot of the money that they fund goes undocumented, right? Or it's very true. I mean, if you search this up, right, we don't know what other nations.
Wait, what funding? You mean our military?
If we fund other nations, when other nations receive money from America.
You're talking about international aid? International aid is a very small portion of our budget. And also, U.S. aid specifically saved millions of lives. By 2030.
Who funds U.S. aid?
The U.S.
Right, and who's the U.S.?
The taxpayer.
Exactly. So do you believe it's fair for the taxpayer to decide how much money we send to other nations?
Yes, I think that we should absolutely be sending money to other nations when it comes to USAID these are really cost-effective ways to reduce the millions of people from dying. This
Do you believe
easily
in the
preventable
drug
death.
epidemic? Do you
So,
believe
like,
in
let
the
me
drug
clarify:
epidemic?
14 million people will die by 2030 because of the fact that they did the Doge cuts to USAID that would have otherwise survived, according to a Lancet study.
Do you believe in the drug epidemic?
Do I believe in the what?
The drug epidemic.
Yeah, Trump's making it worse. He pardoned an individual, the ex-president of Honduras, that trafficked over 400 tons of sea drug to our country.
Can you point out any Kamala policy that has decreased the drug epidemic?
Well, there was under the Biden administration, they were advocating for policies and passing policies to increase access to prevention, to reduce the likelihood of being on the streets. They were going after suppliers, right, and producers of like the most horrible substances in the country, like F drug.
Was the prevention not giving them safer ways to use drugs?
So that you're only talking about in hyper specific areas, and I think that that's actually a good thing. So
you
can you argue why that's a bad thing?
I mean, because you're enabling people.
No, you're actually making it safer for them to do the thing that they were going to do either way, which reduces the likelihood of them getting disease, illness, them spreading or transmitting anything, right? It reduces the likelihood of them ODing, right? Because there are specialists and professionals around them, right? The goal is inevitably to get people like out of a situation of addiction
by giving them easier access to drugs,
by ensuring that it's safer. And that there are medical professionals around them, especially because if they're closer to medical professionals, they're more likely to inevitably get care for addiction.
Let's say I'm someone that would like to partake in those activities, and I see the government is offering a safe and almost free way to do that, other than the substances itself. Would that not encourage me to go do those things?
Right? No, I think that if you're an addict, you're already encouraged to do it because you're addicted. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't think that providing it to them in terms of the situation is going to increase them in terms of getting it because they're already addicted.
There's other people aside for the addicts.
Okay.
Like there's people that would may be interested in getting into those things, and they see, well, the government is giving us a safe way to do this. Like, I don't really see a problem.
In the areas in which this is adopted, that's not something that happens. It actually reduces the likelihood of addiction, reduces the likelihood of overdose, reduces the likelihood of death, reduces the likelihood of a hospitalization, right? So actually, when we've seen this implemented in countries such as Portugal, we've seen very positive impacts.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about those, but I mean, I'll definitely look into that. I mean, I can give you that one, sure. I'm here to learn. I'm not just here to argue.
I do think it's important to address it, but I think that we need to come at this with understanding, with love, with acceptance, and with the science as the basis for what we're going to do, and also looking to see what the impact is going to be on people, because inevitably we want to benefit people. We don't want people to be struggling with like addictions that are really harmful to them, right?
I also think giving people these like these needle spaces kind of and giving them supplies to practice these substances can create a positive culture around it, which I think we can all agree having a culture centered around positivity on
Why
using.
Why is that true in Portugal?
I'm really not sure. I haven't looked into that. I'm not well informed enough to make an argument based upon Portugal. I'm sorry.
Okay, so like the point that I would make is that maybe we should like look at examples like that. Because maybe I think the point that people get from this is that, like, for example, like if a certain city implements a policy to increase people's access in this particular way, provide safe alternatives, it is going to increase how many people from surrounding areas who are addicts who go to that area to get access to it. So it might look like it's increasing the level, whereas other areas are doing better off, but that's really just that other people from other areas are going to the area where they get better treatment. So I do think that oftentimes it's a little bit misleading when it comes to like certain types of people's understandings of things, whether it be based on the implementations of very hyper-specific liberal cities. If we look at like Portugal, or we look at like broader examples such as that, we see a very positive impact with across the entirety of the country, the implementation of the policy. So I think it's important. I think it's necessary for us to do. And I think that if we care about our fellow Americans, that's something that we should do. Now, that's on top of everything else that we're doing. Donald Trump has not perpetuated better conditions for this at all. Donald Trump's never talked about adding this, right, as a mechanism. Right? It never talked about expanding access to healthcare. They just want to leave it up to people. There's no alternatives the Trump administration is providing.
Well, what I will say before I kind of like change to that claim is that I think you have kind of just changed my opinion on drug handling, right? And I think I kind of went into it with the idea that you're enabling people. obviously, in that you create this culture around using them. But no, yeah, that you made really good points. I'll definitely have to look into the Portugal thing, but that's also very interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna get cake for saying this, but I think a lot of people would tend to be more anti-Trump and pro Harris and pro Democrat if the supporters of the Democratic Party weren't so like rude and just awful. I'm here trying to learn, and your chat is just berating me, calling me unintelligent and uninformed, and that I'm not learning and I'm talking too much, which I think isn't very a positive environment. But if we get back to the debate, sorry,
I'm sorry, bro. That's just the internet.
Yeah, I know.
That's the internet, dude. Of course, people are going to be. Wait. That's not just liberals. That's also conservatives. That's also people of every ideological belief. And also, like, when you do say things that are ill-informed, misinformed, people are inevitably going to have that type of response because of the typical person that comes up. So you also you have to understand all the reasons why people are also responding, and understand like why people are like seeing that in the way that you're saying things, even if you're not intentionally trying to do anything harmful or intentionally trying to say anything dumb, for example.
Yeah, but by saying that all parties are like that, I only kind of reinforces the claim that the Democratic Party could receive more supporters if they weren't like that, right? If they were more friendly. But I mean, it's an argument for another day, and I get what you mean.
I mean, sure, but you could say that about any party, and I think that if people in general cared about the level of friendliness, if we're talking about Republicans that we're dealing with right now, well, they haven't been turned off by the Republican Party being less friendly, so it doesn't seem like that would be relevant to this type of dialogue. Maybe that would be relevant to like some typical apolitical person, right? That we'd just be like talking to, but it's less applicable to MAGA because you were willing to look past that to support Trump.
Yeah, but I mean, oh gosh, sorry, I have a bad stutter.
You're okay, don't worry.
History's proved time and time again that pacifism and being more friendly to others will tend to get you what you want. I mean, you look at examples like Martin Luther King, right? He led the sit-ins, the student unions, they led passive and friendly and neutral kind of arguments and protests, and they kind of got what they want. So maybe it can work for everybody. I don't know. I'm kind of.
I don't think being as the nice as I possibly can is the most effective in all circumstances, and I think that I've seen this more directly because I debate people every single day. I see what's like, I guess, effective in terms of like responses and engaging with people, and I don't think it's true that being the nicest you can possibly be in every scenario is the most effective for being able to get people to rally behind something or being able to get things done. I do think it's important to be able to have the idea to go back and forth, like be respectful and nice in most scenarios when it's warranted and when it's nice and when it can lead to better scenarios. But there are obviously going to be some scenarios where you match energy, right? And you respond fire with fire. And that's the right way to respond in certain circumstances, not in all circumstances.
Yeah. I also think it's also kind of just opinion based as well. I mean, just how people want to be treated and how people think the world should treat each other. But can I ask, do you believe that I mean, if you're okay, if we could pivot to a different subject of immigration, because I think, me personally, that's the biggest kind of turnoff to the Kamala Harris administration.
Kamala, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, why so? What specifically about immigration?
I believe that, well, I personally believe that we should be removing illegal immigrants from the country that moved here prior to the Trump administration, such as maybe not in the way ICE is doing it. I cannot agree with everything they're doing, and I cannot agree with some of the executive pushes Trump's made for on how they should act. But I believe Kamala and Biden were kind of too soft on immigration, and they, I don't know. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Okay. Like how so? How are they too soft on immigration?
You're muted.
They tried to do how are they too soft on immigration? Because I think that they tried to do a bipartisan border bill.
Well, we need to be strict on our border. Like, I think the border needs to be completely shut, obviously, and we need to remove the illegal immigrants that have already made their way into the country, which they had no intention of doing.
Okay, so I guess like you're saying we need to be more restrictive, but you're not addressing the fact that there was a bipartisan border bill that Donald Trump undermined where they specifically were able to actually address the conditions in terms of lack of security at the border, but Donald Trump undermined it because he cared more about running on the border being an issue in terms of we need to do mass deportation, we need to do mass deportation. The Democrats want open borders and whatnot instead of actually fixing the conditions at the border because there was unprecedented levels of negotiation in Congress to be able to pass legislation like that.
Honestly, I'm not too sure of that, but that still kind of for me doesn't prove anything that they've done or tried to take action to do. I mean, I didn't see an effect of it. I personally didn't see or investigate or research any positive benefits that they did. Right? I mean, can you name a positive that the Biden and Kamala administration took
regarding immigration?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the bipartisan border bill, well, one, is that, and Trump blocked it. And then two, I guess you could also reference the executive order they inevitably passed that inevitably led to less people that were coming into the country through the encounters is going to be the way that you would say to address the level of people that were coming here. Now, personally, I think some of the best things they did were through, like, the context of asylum, TPS, expansion, or in upholding DACA and trying to do so. Like things like that. I think that those were like the best things I would point to, like in terms of things they actually did.
Do you believe that illegal immigrants are harmful to the nation?
Do I believe what?
Illegal immigrants are harmful to the nation.
I think that undocumented immigrants who haven't committed a violent or serious crime should be given a pathway to citizenship, and that would lead to them being able to benefit the country to a greater extent, and so they are benefited to a greater extent. I think that them in the country undocumented in that scenario would be worse for them and for the country if we keep them in the country undocumented like that and we don't provide them the pathway to citizenship. And I think that the idea and threat of mass deportation in of itself for those individuals is what's causing those conditions. Let me give an example. I'm saying that like legal immigration is preferable. We want people to go through the legal process. We just need to facilitate quicker and better legal processes because that's the best way to address any conditions for immigration and its effect in terms of the economy for undocumented immigration.
You also have to take in consideration that those reforms take time. You can't just speed up the process, obviously. So having undocumented immigrants in the United States can lead to a multitude of issues, right? I mean, like security, national security. It's a threat. You don't know having a surplus of individuals that you can't track down or that you can't confirm are in or not in your nation can lead to.
Well, you can track them down, and just like any other U.S. citizen, and then also like I think you have to consider that undocumented immigrants commit multiple times lower rates of crime in the country comparative to natural-born U.S. citizens.
Rates as in per person?
Yeah, per capita. Yeah,
I didn't know, sure, but I also kind of look at it as a rule of law lens. I believe that threatening to be kind of preference and bias towards one group regarding a law can kind of challenge whenever you give the people that have already entered the nation illegally faster pathways to citizenship, you're undermining and you're creating a biased system to against those who are waiting in their natural nation legally, right, to come into America, and you incentivize people to legally come to the United States.
Okay. So yeah, we want to incentivize people to come legally into the country. That's the goal. I think that's what Democrats were doing. The border bill would have done that. And now they still advocated to criminalize undocumented entry. They just want to make the legal process go quicker, and they prioritize going after those that have committed violent and serious offenses.
Trump's also done it, has he not?
No, he hasn't. He's only 5% of those detained by ICE have committed a violent crime.
What about those detained by ICE during the Biden administration?
The percentage of that?
Yeah.
Well, under the Obama administration, I know is 20%.
Under the Biden administration.
I'm not familiar with the Biden administration's numbers on the percentage that were detained that were violent criminals.
I feel like it's a little unfair to compare those.
To compare Obama in terms of proportions and say that Democrats
it's unfair to compare the Biden and Trump ICE detainee statistics like that. Sorry,
I don't think it would be unfair. I just don't know the number. I'm just telling you that Democrats' intention is to go. I'm just telling you, Democrats' intention is to go after those that have committed violent and serious crimes to a greater extent.
And how do you make a correct distinguishment between those who have and haven't, if we're not even sure of who has violent intentions or may committed a violent crime which hasn't been that hasn't been documented, right? I mean, if you look at SA rates, what is it over 60%?
I'm just telling you, proportionally, they're less likely to do so based upon the data. Like, I have a bibliography in my bio you should check out where there's a bunch of different studies that go over the rates of crime that's committed by undocumented immigrants compared to natural-born U.S. citizens. Yes, there are people in the country that we wouldn't know specifically, and we want to vet those individuals. Again, I think my process is the best to do that. I don't think mass deportation vets them.
I think that's a difference in opinion that I just feel like I haven't been challenged on enough, if that makes sense.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Like, I just think I need a stronger argument to change my mind. I don't know. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I just feel like it's just not enough.
Okay. I guess the point that I'm making, I guess, at least in terms of the Democratic policy as a whole, is that if they're going after the legal process, they want to make it quicker. They still want to criminalize undocumented entry, and they want to go and prioritize going after those that have committed violent and serious offenses to a greater extent. What do you disagree with in terms of their policy?
I believe that we shouldn't discriminate. Not discriminate. I don't believe that we should just narrow it down to those who have committed crimes. I think it should be every single.
It's not just narrowed down. It's prioritized.
But it's, I mean, obviously, which I also believe you'll see more success by just rounding up all or as many.
No, they're prioritizing going after those that are a threat to the community.
But you also can't you can't. We don't know what every immigrant's intentions are. Like, you don't know every American's intentions, right? So I think that just specifically going after those can leave out outliers who want to do harm to the nation. And I think you are safer targeting every undocumented immigrant.
I don't see how that's true. Like, you're safer going after people who are just working for a better life. Like, I don't see how a raid on a restaurant where people are just literally making food and living their lives and providing for their families is going to make our country safer. Like, I don't think that is. I think that's making our country less safe. I think that's nuts. And for you to actually say that to me is, I think, crazy. Like, genuinely, think about this. Why wouldn't you want them to prioritize going after those that have committed the worst of the worst crimes rather than just go after people who are literally running a local restaurant in your city?
I'm not saying it's bad to prioritize, but I'm saying I would prefer if they went after every undocumented immigrant rather than just the illegal immigrants, or prioritizing just those. I mean, and also I don't think it's fair to say that these people are just trying to.
Don't you want to make the country safer?
Obviously, yes.
Do you think prioritizing going after those that are a threat to our community will make our country safer?
It obviously will, and that's if you're looking at it as just.
So you don't agree with making our country safer, then?
I think just looking at it as a lens from making it safer. I'm not sure. I don't know. But the issue isn't just safety, right? Like, you can't just look at it like that, because obviously, yeah, sure, man, I'm just gonna go. I think we should only get the criminals, but there are so many other outlying issues. Like, you may have the point of just going after people trying to work in a restaurant and make food when you're taking jobs away from Americans, right, that were born here.
That's not taking jobs away.
You are 1,000,000%. In what world is an illegal immigrant working somewhere where an American could do that?
So they can increase demand for goods and services, which increases the demand for labor within an economy, therefore increasing the amount of people who are going to have jobs, who are U.S. citizens, plus their labor, what they fulfill, can make other jobs more productive, therefore increasing the amount of jobs that would exist because they can make other jobs more efficient. So there's countless explanations as to how they increase the amount of jobs for natural-born U.S. citizens. Okay, it's not as simple as just saying, like, oh, they're fulfilling a job that a U.S. citizen could have fulfilled. Like, that's a little bit too simplistic, instead of like an overall economic analysis of whether or not they impact job growth for U.S. citizens. And actually, if you want to reference the Biden administration, we had better job growth under the Biden administration with the immigration surge than what we have right now. So how's that working for you guys?
I'm confused as to how increasing supply will increase jobs.
It also increases demand.
Yeah, but
do you think the impacts on the economy are just supply?
How can people purchase the supply if they don't have a job? That makes zero sense.
You're not understanding.
No, I am. So, I mean, if I'm looking at how you said it, you said by the undocumented immigrants working, they increase the supply, which will increase demand, and Americans will go get jobs to buy the new supply, even though those jobs are being taken by undocumented. That just doesn't make sense.
You're not following. I can explain again.
I mean, if you took macroeconomics in high school, you would know that.
I have a degree in economics.
Oh, well, then you should be more well informed than this. I'm confused.
More well informed than this. You misunderstood what I'm saying and said I'm not informed. You're an idiot. Shut the f up. What are you talking about?
No,
you have no clue what you're talking about right now.
I'm just saying.
You literally just didn't follow what I said and then called me dumb or uneducated on it.
I mean that's quite literally what you said, though. Unless you just rambled on.
No, let me explain.
No one called you dumb.
Let me explain again because you didn't listen. Let me explain again. Okay? So undocumented immigrants, when they fulfill those jobs, they are living in the country. Okay? They then demand goods and services with the money that they've made from the job, which increases demand for labor within the economy. Okay? It also, them fulfilling those certain jobs, can make other jobs more productive or more efficient, therefore increasing the amount of jobs available to natural-born U.S. citizens. Plus, since they're making below market wages, or even in some instances below minimum wage, the type of job that's available to them is going to be different than the type of job that would be available to a U.S. citizen. Why? Because of the fact that there are differences in the way that they're treated under the context of the law. So because of the differences in the way that they're treated under the law, the type of employer that they're going to get in terms of who's going to employ them is going to be different than the typical person. And the way they'll treat them will be different because there's no law that regulates how they're treated because they're doing it under the books. So you have to understand the differences in the economy that come from this other than just, oh, they're fulfilling a job.
Okay. I'll give you that. I just.
Can you repeat back anything I said, or did you even comprehend what I said?
I mean, yeah, you did a lot of rambling, a lot of connecting, right? Which led to your ultimate point at the end.
So you can't describe anything about what I just said?
No, I can.
Go ahead,
try. Like do them start from the beginning.
Give me a general rundown of the argument.
I mean, it was just a lot of jibber jabber on how. Yo, quit that little smirk. It was a lot of jibber jabber on you talking about how the immigrants, them working is different in the economy rather than just them fulfilling a job, and that the employers will treat them different, and it's just a load of what feels like bullshit in my eyes. But maybe I'm not well informed enough. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know.
Yeah, your comprehension skills are dog shit.
Yeah, my bad.
No wonder why when you took macroeconomics, which by the way wasn't macroeconomics, it was just economics in high school.
No, it's macro. It's macro and micro where I'm from, at least. So don't you can't just tell me.
Well, sure. Well, I would love to see the differences. Do you know the difference between micro and macro?
Macro is, macro, big economic, micro, little economic.
That's great understanding. You know what?
Yeah.
W's in the chat. It's an incredible understanding. Macro, big. Micro, small.
Yes,
great analysis.
Look at the name. It's
Appreciate the hat mustache. We'll just leave it at that. That sounds amazing. I couldn't have said it better myself. That was great. I think your economic teacher would be very happy. I bet them listening to this right now, they're so happy. They're like,
yeah,
wow,
probably a little
they really comprehended what happened in class, and I'm happy with the grade I gave them.
Wait, you have a degree in economics?
Yes, I do.
That's cool. Where from?
I'm not gonna say.
Oh, is that like private?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like, I might just be stupid. That's how this conversation made me feel. Yeah, I definitely need to do some more research. But you have changed my mind on some things. I think that there was some positives to this conversation.
Wait, here, let me just explain one more time, okay? People demand things in the economy. When you demand things from a business makes more money, or they need to fulfill more tasks to be able to create the products so that you can buy them from them. That inevitably speaking means that they're going to hire more people to fulfill that. So the reason why it creates more jobs is because there's more of a demand for goods and services by the greater population of people within the country.
You see, that makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that breakdown.
Okay, so given that that's the case, right, you can now see that. And also I can tell you, immigration's effect over the past 30 years, according to a Cato Institute study, showed that it decreased the deficit by $14.5 trillion over the past 30 years.
By it increased immigration?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
decreased the deficit by $14.5 trillion over the last 30 years.
Wow.
So we'd have a significantly higher debt if we did not have immigration.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Dude, these people are dragging me in the comments, man.
Just ignore them. Hold down on the screen, click clear display. It gets rid of the comment.
Well, I mean, since now it's just like a learning session, do you believe that surges in population due to immigration can like have a strain on our infrastructure and like resource management, which I do think that's also a pretty big deal. I mean, it harms the consensus. There was a study, I can't remember the exact number, but it had a significant amount of change on the consensus. No, if you'd find that, unless I misread.
Very high levels of immigration in the short term can impact it that way, but that impact is minimal and actually negative, right? When it comes to immigrants, or actually, sorry, let me not phrase it that way. It's better off, right, in the long run with immigrants, right, in terms of all of the things that you mentioned in terms of growth, in terms of prices, in terms of wages, right? All of those things are better off with immigrants in our society comparative to immigrants not being in our society. So does that address it? Like, obviously there can be infrastructure costs in the short run if there's high levels of volatility with that immigration into hyper-specific areas.
I could search up if you want, but is there has the Biden administration caused a decrease in drug crossings of the border? I thought it increased over the Biden administration.
No, it's decreased. Well, let me phrase it better. It increased during like the pandemic, and during situations like of inflation, and then it was decreasing under the Biden administration. So Biden didn't cause an increase. It was just happening even prior to the administration. So even prior, like to when Trump was in office, and then it started massively declining due to Biden administration policy they put in place, and that's continued since Trump got in office.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm obviously not well informed enough to debate you. I think I definitely need to go do some more research before I try again. But I think this was a good learning opportunity, and maybe some of my views have changed. I appreciate you for the opportunity, though.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.